Are you ready to do a YouTube video? Are you nervous? Why are you so nervous? It's just YouTube. Huxley, it's gonna be okay. We can do this. It's just YouTube. You're gonna be okay. Hello, YouTube. If you're watching this, you probably came from my Instagram, so you probably already know this is Huxley. My name is Alice. I live in Vancouver, Canada, and I grow a lot of plants in my home, and I like to share them on Instagram and now YouTube. So full disclosure, this is like the 4th time I've tried to film, and it hasn't been going well, but luckily this morning my little mic adapter came in, so hopefully the audio is a little bit better today. And this one wants to go back to sleep, so I'm gonna let him down while I finish the intro. Good boy. Off you go. So as I was saying, this is like the 4th attempt of me trying to film this video. And I did want to show my face for my first video, but it's just not happening today. There will be days when I show my face, but today is not that day. And I just feel like for my first video, I just want to be comfortable talking to you guys. And to do that, I need to not be showing my face. So today's video is going to be my 2021 yearly favorites. So this is going to be plants that I've loved all throughout the year. So I've loved a lot of plants this year, but not all of them are gonna make this list. They may make a monthly's favorites list, but these are like my tried and true, will love forever kind of plants. I will be categorizing them by genus, and at the end I'll have some plant supply favorites that I can't really imagine growing plants without. And I think for each category, I'm just gonna have an honorable mention of like, maybe not my most favorite, but deserves a mention, and I think it'll make more sense when I get to them. So 2021 was a little bit, I think most collectors go through this, where you go through like phases of plants that you like more at different times of your lives. And like for example, at the beginning of the year, I was obsessed with Anthurium, so that's all I was importing, that's all I was looking at on Instagram. I kind of put all my focus on Anthuriums, and I kind of neglected all the other plants in my collection. And then around spring, summer, Huxley's playing with the little door stopper, like, ding. So if you can hear that, that's him. So spring, summer, I got really into cacti and succulents. And then I just collected so many of them because they were kind of easier to collect. Hux, do you mind? Thank you. And then after summer, I blame Gloriosum for this, but I got back into philodendrons again. And then I kind of started neglecting everything else. And then now we're at the end of 2021, I'm kind of at this place where I'm a little bit more balanced, I think. I'm not really buying plants anymore, and I'm focusing more on growing them. Not only because like I don't want to buy, so I'm just growing plants, but I'm also not propagating either because I just don't have that much time with work. So all I'm doing is growing my plants bigger, which is not the worst, right? So without further ado, I'm gonna get started on my yearly favorites. The first genus is going to be Philodendron. So you can already see a couple behind me. I have a list of 5 top favorites and 1 honorable mention. So I'm gonna start with the one that kind of reignited my love for philodendron, and that is my true love, Philodendron gloriosum. Specifically the dark form, or what they call the white veins form, or what else do they call it, zebra form. I have thoughts on the name zebra, by the way, but this is mine. So this was imported as just gloriosum, and I got this in late spring of this year. And I had to get a grow tent around June of this year because I was going away on a trip, and I threw my gloriosums in there to acclimate, and they just took off. And like all of these leaves are grown in my care, so all the import leaves have been chopped off to grow other plants, and this is my best one. So I actually have 7 or 8 of these types of gloriosums. I actually don't have the regular gloriosum, the one with the more muted veins and the D-shaped petiole, Because on this one, this is the easiest way to tell, by the way, is you can see that the petioles on the dark form is totally round. So that's like the first way to tell. And I think there are like differences between the dark form and the white veins form, and there's no like official cultivar name for these either. Anyway, I post this a lot on my Instagram. It probably feels like I post the same plant over and over again, but I'm posting like 2 or 3 plants, and every time there's a new leaf, I post a picture of a gloriosum. So this is my favorite one. This is never leaving me. I might chop and prop it, but not anytime soon, because I actually really love how bushy it's getting. So Philodendron gloriosum, probably my top favorite philodendron. Okay, and another thing I wanted to mention about my setup is that I actually can't see my viewfinder very well. My camera, the viewfinder doesn't flip around, so I actually have a mirror behind my camera, so I'm seeing like a really tiny little screen, so I can't tell when things are in focus. So if things don't focus, I'm very sorry. So anyways, the next plant was a birthday plant, and this was one that my boyfriend got me. He conspired with Charmaine, Unplanned Parenthood, on getting this plant for me for my birthday this year, and I don't know how he knew, but it was my top wishlist plant at the time. And he got this from Lauren at North Shore Tropicals. And yeah, I don't photograph this a lot for Instagram, just because I find it really difficult to capture like everything that I want to capture on this plant, which is the dimension, I think, is like the hardest to capture. And like, if you can see here on the video how sunken the veins are, and they have a little bit of a darkness to them, which makes it look even more puffy, and it has this like glaucous silver shine on them, and yeah, it's just really difficult to capture on camera with the skills that I have anyway. But on video, I think it is showing up really well. I just have so much love for this plant. It's so beautiful. I do think it's a little bit more finicky with light. You can see this leaf here. The lobes are just like fully flipped back, and I think this is like it searching for light behind it. Like this one, let's see, the newest leaf, I have it facing like a moderate light source because I don't want it to burn either, and it's not really doing that. And neither is this one, which is facing the same way. Anyways, it is fairly easy other than that, and I still have it in the original moss that it came in, and I'll probably repot this in the spring. Yeah, Philodendron SP Columbia, aka SP Silver. Love this plant, will love this forever. And then also from North Shore Tropicals, we were there this September for like kind of pop-up plant sale, and I was like looking in her shop. I was kind of just wandering around, and I saw this plant, and I was like, what is it? Give it to me. I need this plant. And it was, I ended up getting it. I traded one of my plants for this, and it is the Philodendron rubro sanctum platinum. So this is the leaf that I saw out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, what is this peach butt sinus? Like, oh, it's so pretty. Was just like holding on to it for a really long time, and I was like, is this for sale? And she didn't really want to sell it to me yet because it wasn't super rooted, but yeah, it did just fine, obviously. So it was a single leafer when I got it, and then this leaf grew in my care, which is not as like puffy, but it is a lot bigger. And I find that with other plants, I'm seeing like a lot of variability in how the leaves look, but they all have like similar venation and like that metallic shine to them. This is like a fully hardened leaf, so it still has that metallic finish. So yeah, the variability in a leaf is really interesting. So like, you're not always gonna get something that looks like this or even this, but they all look just stunning in their own way. So yeah, this was an unexpected find and an unexpected love, but definitely one of my favorites. Rubro sanctum platinum. Which one should I do next? Let's do a different one. This one is another birthday plant that I got from my friends this year. It's a plant that I've been eyeing, I'll be honest, from my friend's collection for a really long time. Like I never asked for it or anything. And it's also like not a plant that people would expect me to like, I don't think, because I'm not really into variegated plants that much. And when I am, then I'm really into it. So the only variegated philodendron on my list today is the Philodendron Pink Princess. So this was given to me by my friends, but this was a cutting off of Jing's plant, Mom and Plants. She also has a plant shop, planthappens.com. Oh, like when I opened this, I was like speechless. Like I couldn't believe that I could get a pink princess this nice. And I know like not all pink princesses are nice, so I'm not like into all of them, but a lot of the ones that are coming out of Asia they're being called like pink princess marble, and so they have this kind of variegation to them. And like this is the stuff. Oh yeah. So I'm really excited to grow this really big. It kind of started to go green on me a little bit, so this one is very low variegation. And then I increased the light, and then this came out. So it's starting to increase, and then this is the newest leaf with a nice chunk of pink there. So I'm not losing hope, not gonna chop it back. I just love this plant so much. I don't know what it is about Pink Princess. I think it's like the tone of the green part, which is so dark and almost like burgundy. And then the way the pink, the patterning of the variegation is really beautiful to me. And the stems are like burgundy, sometimes with pink running up them. And the shape of the mature leaves, I think, is like something that it's just so pleasing to me. So yeah, I am so grateful to have this plant in my collection. I love her so much. Philodendron Pink Princess, and let's just pan my favorite leaves one more time. Yum. Okay, the last plant that I have on the philodendron list is related to the first one. It is related to the first plant, and you're probably guessing what it is by now. It is the Philodendron Dean McDowell. So this is my main one, which I imported, I think late last year or early this year. I don't really remember. So it's been acclimating in the same substrate that it currently is in, which is a mix of pon and leca. And it's very root bound already. You can see, you can't really see the bottom because it's so dusty, but it is quite root bound down there. I don't know why this one is just like, it's been really easy for me. This lives out in my living room right now currently, which is like 25% humidity, which is awful. But that's the winter for ya. So it's somehow still able to hold on to 8 leaves all at once, which is incredible. Like it doesn't want to drop any leaves. It's still growing. The newest leaf is not super tiny either. So I'll just flip you around to the newest one, which is right here. It didn't have too much trouble unfurling either. Yeah, it's not super, like it didn't rip itself, but it is like a tiny bit damaged here. But honestly, like it's living in 20% humidity. Like what more could I ask for? So Dean McDowell, I find it to be way easier than the Gloriosum in the sense that it doesn't need as much to grow. Gloriosums for me need a lot more warmth in order to get going, and then the McDowell is just a little bit more easygoing. So yeah, I love this plant. And if you can, in case you don't know, I think everyone knows this by now, it is a hybrid of Gloriosum and Pastazanum. And the best way to tell, if you can't see it in person, is, as I understand, emergent leaves have this like pinky hue to them, which they get from the Gloriosum. So if you're able to see a new leaf, that's a good way. And then I don't believe that Pastazanums have red caterpillars. I think they are pretty much all green. And then the finish of them is more matte, and a pasta tends to be a little bit more shiny, especially on the newest leaf. Like I'm just flip this around again. You can see that it's almost a little bit like sub-velvet, kind of buttery texture. Definitely there's no shine to it whatsoever. And that's also a really good way to tell between a McDowell and a Pastazanum. So yeah, actually I forgot, I had a little baby one that I wanted to show you as well. So I'm gonna grab that, be right back. So if you follow Erin on Instagram, Unruly Botany, I'm sure you do if you follow me. You've probably seen her giant Dean McDowell that lives in her living room. The leaves are honestly like the size of my torso. They're giant and it's so beautiful. So she got that plant probably, I want to say like a year and a half ago, and she was repotting it. And there was just this chunk of stem that was in the soil. I think it had some roots, or maybe they were like woody, kind of already dead roots. And she didn't want it anymore, so she chopped it and she gave it to me. And if you are propagating D. McDowell by a chunk of stem that doesn't have roots or leaves, it's gonna take a really long time to get going, let me tell you. Like, I think that piece took me over a year to get anything to come out of it, and it had warmth, it had a heat mat, it had high humidity, it had good light, it had everything. And I'm finding the same again with another chunk of McDowell stem that I'm propagating right now, and that one has roots and it's still not doing anything. It's not dying, it's just like frozen in time. So that's my experience with kind of chunk cuttings, wet stick cuttings of Dean McDowell. But finally we have a plant, and this is him. So Erin's plant she calls Big D, and this is Little D. And he's just so cute. He got a little bit mangled because he was living in a prop box, and I'm acclimating him out to my like regular room humidity at the moment. So I'm gonna let it be mangled for a little bit. I think the next leaf should be better, and it's gonna be medium D soon. So I just wanted to give this one a little mention because he's just so cute. And that is it for my favorites for Philodendron. I just want to give one honorable mention to a plant that honestly is not, it's not my favorite species ever, but I do have like a lot of love for this particular plant in my collection, and that is this Philodendron Lingerie 10th. I'm gonna have to back up. Oh, there we go. So I imported this. This is one of my very first imports actually. This was imported about a year and a half ago, and it wasn't super easy. Like, it was my first import, right? So like I had a bit of a time trying to root this, but once it did get going, like, it's been just so low maintenance for me. It doesn't need much light, and in fact it doesn't want that much light. And this was grown in my living room, 25 to 30% humidity in the winter. There's a heater blasting on it, there's a draft, it's cold, and it's perfect. It's giant too. I don't know what I did to grow this plant, but yeah, like Lingerie 10s, it had a little moment, didn't it, in 2021? Like, people were really obsessed with it, and then like it just like fizzled out like that, like so quickly. And it's not that like the market was flooded with them or anything, but I think just people just didn't actually really care about them. But they are really, really gorgeous plants, and they are so similar to the Philodendron Linamii. And to me, like, I don't see enough of a difference to warrant me buying that plant, because so much of what I love about the Lingerie 10s is like it's present in both plants. So like, why would I pay $500 to $1,000 for it? No, thank you. And the one thing that Linamii doesn't have, that Lingerie 10s does have, is this warty. Is it gonna focus? Is it focused? I can't tell. This warty, like kind of semi-fuzzy white fuzz on the red petiole, and oh, it's just like, it's just a wonderful plant. So This is my Philodendron negritansi. Negritansi? I think it's negritansi actually. Yeah, I thought it needed an honorable mention because it's such a good boy. Love this guy. So that is it for Philodendron. The next genus I wanted to talk about is a really short list, like a list of one. That is Epipremnum. So I don't really love pothos that much. And I'll be honest, like I really resisted getting this next plant because I thought it was so basic. I was like, like everybody wants this plant. It's so boring. Oh, variegation. So like, I was that person. So I don't know what got into me, but I really wanted this plant. And I think it's because like someone I knew wanted it as well. So I was like, let's just split one. And then I didn't expect to fall so madly in love with it, but this is the only pothos on my list, only Epipremnum, and that is the Epipremnum manjula. And this is mine. I think I grew it from a 3-leaf, so it was like these 3 here. And I'm gonna assume that it was a bit lower light where it came from. I put it under my grow lights on my living room shelves, and then it started growing a lot more like creamy, less speckly, and the white is just a little bit more white. But every leaf is just so different. I love how like kind of curled and round the leaves are. And I don't know if you've seen that photo on Instagram of the girl with like the giant manjula leaves. Like I think the leaves are probably like this big, like just, and they look just like this too. They're just like this, but like magnified, and they're so beautiful. And as I'm gonna, when I get the energy to, I will get this on a pole and try to grow it that big. But in the meantime, I'm just like really enjoying watching all the variation in the leaves that come out. And it's just really easy. I have it in a mixture of Lechuzapan. Is there perlite in here? No. Lechuzapan and fine grade orchiata. And I find that Epipremnum really love pon for some reason. I'm not really sure why, like more than leca, more than soil. So yeah, I haven't had any Epipremnum that didn't love pon. So this is my favorite pothos and the only pothos on my list. Next up is Alocasia. And Alocasia is kind of a similar story to Epipremnum in that I don't have a lot that I love. I don't know why. I'm not crazy about Alocasia, but I do appreciate them. They're just like they don't ignite a fire in me, but I do like them. They're quite nice, and they're kind of a little bit harder to grow bushy and large. And I think that's part of why I'm not like super in love with them. So it is a list of one plant with an honorable mention, and that is none other than my, oh no, you're drooping a little bit, my variegated frydeck. So this is a plant that was a gift from Jing for no reason. She's just an angel. I got this as a corm from her maybe about a month and a half ago, something like that. And at the time it was just unfurling this oldest leaf here, and it was like really, really nicely variegated, as you can see. So it was like good genetics. I was really hopeful for it. And then sure enough, the next leaf after that was this one, which is incredible. Ugh. And then it's just finishing hardening this leaf, which is just incredibly beautiful. Like, let's look at them together. Let me flip this one around. There we go. Yeah, like her mother plant is so insanely beautiful as well, and it's gifted her so many corms that I don't know why she gave this to me. Like, she is just way too nice. Like, it's like, I am so blessed to have this plant and to have her in my life that, ugh. Yeah, so without a doubt, my favorite Alocasia in my collection, and maybe ever, is the variegated frydeck. And I think this is also beating a dead horse, but what is sold as frydeck as the green version should actually not be called frydeck. Like, so frydeck should be the variegated version. The name for the green should be Alocasia mycolitziana maxkowskii. Maybe it's pronounced maxkowskii. But yeah, this is the true frydeck, and growers, if you could stop calling it frydeck, that would be awesome, but they're never going to, which is fine. So this is my only year-end favorite Alocasia. And then I wanted to also give an honorable mention to the next one, which I think I wanted to honorably mention this one because I don't think it gets enough love. And by that I mean that, like, it is pretty available in the greenhouses, but nobody seems to super care about them, and I don't really understand why. So I wanted to shed a little spotlight on them. And also I want to say that it is a little bit easier than a lot of Alocasias that are pretty popular at the moment. And that is the Alocasia scalprum. And this is mine. I will say I'm not growing it as big as I probably could be. I'm not really sure why. I did repot it fairly recently into a bigger pot and different soil, so that might be why. But this is the newest leaf, and just like, they don't even look real. Like, this looks fabricated, does it not? Like, it's so shiny. The veins are so cool. It has this like rubbery kind of texture when they're new, and the old leaves just feel very leathery. And this is why you don't leave Alocasia roots unattended. So this actually lives in my exo, and the bottom of my exo is lined with moss and coco coir that's always kept wet just to keep the humidity up, and this is growing into the substrate, which is annoying, but it's okay. It just happens so fast with Alocasia. I don't know why. Anyways, Alocasia scalprum deserves an honorable mention because it just needs to be appreciated more. Oh my god, I can't believe it's getting dark already. Okay, well, good thing I'm on to the last few categories. Yes, the last few categories. So next up, I'm gonna talk about my favorite Anthuriums of this year. So, let's see, how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4 with an honorable mention. Oops, that I forgot to bring here. Please hold. Honestly, like, I'm walking around, putting plants back, grabbing plants for the next category, and like, this weather is no fun for my plants. Like, everything looks just a little bit haggard in this dryness, so I'm gonna have to spray everything down pretty soon. Oh, you can see this plant on the edge. Here we go. Let's hide that. Okay, so first plant I want to talk about, Anthurium category, is one that I post pretty often and I talk about pretty often because it's been a bit of a journey with this one. And I got this maybe a year and a half ago from someone who was growing it in like their dark living room or something. And it was a bit of a rehab project, but it came back, and it was one of the first plants that I tried mycorrhizae on, and it really liked it. And that plant is the Anthurium warocqueanum, and this is a green form. About a year ago I was getting leaves kind of like this size, so this would have been grown like maybe December, November of last year, something like that. Same with this, would have been like mid last year, 2020, yeah. And then after Myco came this leaf, so quite a bit of a size up, and then 3 leaves after that. So in 2021 it would have grown 4 leaves, which is like not amazing, but not bad either. And this, which one's the newest? This one is the newest leaf. This one right here. And I think that Warocs get a bad rap in a sense because it's like they're not divas per se. Like, they are kind of difficult to ship and they're difficult to acclimate. Like, I've definitely lost my fair share of queens in the acclimation process, but I think once they're established, they're actually really easygoing, and they don't take up too much water. They don't require too much. You just give them humidity. They water them like once every few weeks, and they kind of just like keep going. And the really fun thing about queens to me is when a new leaf comes in, and it's expanding. It expands so quickly. Like you can leave it for a day, come back, and you can see like a significant difference in the leaf size, and that's really fun for me. And that's not the same for every Anthurium for sure. So that's one thing I really love about this, and I think this is one of my 2021 favorites, just because of like I feel like I've come so far with this plant, and I think it's gonna, like, if I ended last year with this, right, and then I'm ending this year with this, I have pretty high hopes of what I'll be getting by this time next year. So yeah, love this one. Queen Anthurium, Anthurium moraquianum. And then of course the next plant obviously has to be the King Anthurium. So this is my Anthurium veitchii narrow form. It is kind of like a sad looking two-leafer right now. I don't find it as easy as the Queen, I'll be honest. It doesn't grow as fast. I don't know, maybe I need to like put it side by side and grow them together. Yeah, fun little fact. If you've watched Charmaine's latest video, actually I don't know if it will be her latest video by the time this comes up, but her plant wish list video, she talked about the pop socket makers. So you know the pop sockets with the leaf shapes that go on the back of the phone, and I think most people are getting the Gloriosum one. I think that's the most popular one, and like actually you don't see the veitchii one that often, but the veitchii one is my plant. Like they stole my photo off Instagram, specifically of this leaf, and they made a pop socket out of it, and there's nothing I can do about it, but it is my plant. And when I realized, I was like looking, and it's kind of funny because like you can look at a leaf and be like, I recognize that leaf, like that's my plant. Like that, isn't it kind of weird that it's like almost like facial recognition, but it's like 100% this leaf, and it's like I don't know if I should be offended that the veitchii one is not that popular, or glad that not as much profit is being made off of my photo. I don't know. But anyways, that's just a little fun fact. But I honestly love veitchii so much, and specifically like the very ribby ones, and I just like, I know that this plant is not where it could be at the moment, but I'm like very, very excited of what it will become, and like I just can't wait for it to become just like long and just disgusting and like bleh, like just ribby and floppy and long. And that's I think it's a long ways from being that, and it's actually putting out a new leaf right now, and I don't think I need to help it. I'll just give it a little spray down later, and I think it'll figure itself out. So yeah, you can see that it's coming in like, we don't block the light, but it'll come in like a coppery color and then harden off into green, obviously. So Anthurium veitchii, this is gonna be in my collection forever. I just know I just love it. And the next one I want to talk about, let's switch it up a little bit. So it was kind of a toss-up between this next one and Anthurium Lingerie, because I do really love a pendant Anthurium. But I chose this one because it's been a better grower for me. It's been a lot easier, and it's been a lot more responsive. The Lingerie, I'm still kind of figuring out what it likes, what its feed requirements are. So yeah, so the next plant I want to talk about is the Anthurium pallidiflorum. So this one is also about a year old in my collection. Not a year old as a plant, but like I've had it about a year. I got it about January of this year, and it was a two-leafer at the time, so those leaves are still on here. It's these two leaves right here. These two leaves were the import leaves, and since then it's giving me 1, 2, 5 leaves, and just really steadily growing. And it's currently in a mixture of just moss and orchiata mixed throughout. And yeah, I tried a new fertilizer on it, and like the newest leaf came out like this. Is like way bigger than the one before. This is the one before it. These two. Can you even see? There you go. Yeah, it's quite a bit bigger and just looks a little bit greener as well. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just like hyping it up too much, but I think I really love this so much. First of all, it's kind of got that semi-velvety texture to it. It's not pure velvet, but it is definitely like, let me feel, not as velvety. No, it's about the same as my queen actually. Maybe a little bit smoother, but it's got these beautiful wrinkly ripples on it. Like the dimension on this is so cool. And like, it doesn't have a shimmer per se, but it definitely has this like almost holographic like finish to it. Like, yeah, I could just stare at this leaf forever. So it's like, to me, it is way more beautiful than the Vitarifolium, even though I do love that Anthurium as well, but this tops my favorite for pendant Anthuriums for sure. And then if my Lingerie ever gets big and decides that it loves me, then maybe that would top the list. 3 more. So the next one, how am I doing for battery? Not too bad. Okay, the next one is, which one should I do next? The next one I want to talk about, let's talk about this one. So this is a plant that I imported late last year or early this year. I've had it almost a year, I want to say. This is a hybrid out of Indonesia, and that is called Anthurium, King of Spades. And this is mine. It's not the fastest grower for me. It's pretty hardy, but it hasn't been just pumping out leaves left, right, and center. It did pup for me, so I've already separated that. So this is a top cutting that I'm keeping for myself. It responded really well to low light. So this is like the newest leaf in that light. It's hardened off in lower light, being shaded by other plants with quite a bit of distance between my grow lights. And yeah, like it's so much of what I love about Anthuriums, which is like when they have a really fat round shape. I like silver venation, but when it's not like super like thick and bleedy, I like it when it's like pretty tidy like this. And it has this like beautiful pink sinus that kind of sticks around for quite a long time. Like this leaf has been out for quite a few months, I want to say. Maybe it's not fully mature yet, but it's pretty hardened off and like the colors are still there, which is like, yeah, really, really, really love this hybrid. And I just want to say, like, there's a lot of people on the internet who are super obsessed with hyped up plants with like hyped up names, plants with, you know, like, I don't know, like just for example, red crystallinum. Like this, it's a bench hybrid, right? As far as we know, it's a bench hybrid, and we don't really know the parentage of it, but it's like, it's prestigious for a reason, for some reason, I want to say, and yet those same people would just like scoff at like hybrids, bench hybrids that are coming out of Indonesia, and like what makes that any different from a bench hybrid coming out of Florida? You know what I mean? Like it's if it's a beautiful plant and you love it, it's all worthy of your love. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about this one. One more time, Anthurium, King of Spades. Fat, round cutie. Okay, the last plant on my list, and then the honorable mention for Anthurium. So this one I got sometime this year, maybe late spring of this year. I got it as quite a small plant because I couldn't afford a big one, and at the time they weren't super available. And that is an Anthurium Luxurians. So this is mine. It's a 4-leafer. I don't think any of the import leaves remain. Maybe this one was an import leaf. Maybe. But I remember it being smaller than that. I think this was grown in my care actually. So all these leaves were grown in my care this year. I don't know what happened with this. It might be fertilizer burn. Just fine, let's just ignore him. This is the newest leaf, and it's finally starting to get a little bit more of that Luxurians shape. And I'm so excited to have this in my collection because I just wanted to grow it out to flowering maturity and be able to hybridize it with other plants, because every hybrid that I've ever seen with Luxurians is just so gorgeous. Like it does something to me. Like it's dark, it's bumpy. I love bullet leaf textures. Like the new leaves are so glossy, and then like mature Luxurians have those like tall lobes, and like the sinus and like the petioles are so cool because they've got this like winged square shape to them. Yeah, so it's not like the most gorgeous specimen ever, but definitely one of my favorites. And by favorites, I mean that like I don't ever plan on not having this in my collection because I just love it so much. So yeah, excited to see this grow and excited to hybridize this with other plants. And then my honorable mention for Anthurium kind of goes off of the back of like hybridizing, and that is my little tray of Anthurium seedlings. So these are seedlings that I germinated and pollinated and germinated myself. So this was the parent plants where the mother was my Anthurium forgetii. At the time I thought it was a dark form, but I think it does have a little bit of silver in it. It just wasn't presenting at the time. And then the pollen donor was my friend JR's like true dark forgetii. So it doesn't have silver at all. It has like that green, almost invisible venation. And it was my very first time ever pollinating Anthurium, and it actually worked. And I was really surprised because the mother plant, which was mine, hadn't been imported for very long. It was still acclimating. So the fact that it had the energy to like produce berries was actually like pretty remarkable and very unexpected. So to me, like this deserves an honorable mention in my favorites because it was really like, it's a hallmark it's a milestone, I should say, in my plant parenthood. It's like, I created these. Look I made it. And I'm like excited to see what it'll look like as they grow, because the parents aren't truly the same plant, I don't think. Because my forgetii has a little bit of silver showing. So there'll be a little bit of variation. I don't know that I'll love the plants, but I'll love them in the way that like I love them because they're my creation. So yeah, honorable mention, little baby Anthuriums. Oh, it's getting so dark. It's only, oh no, it's 4 o'clock. It is kind of late. So I'm gonna wrap this up pretty shortly. I have one more category of plants, I believe, and I have the plant supplies. And before I go into that next plant category, I'm just gonna say there are no Monstera on this list. What do I want to say about Monstera? They're not that easy to grow for me. No, they grow really slow for me. And my one true love for Monstera is Monstera deliciosa large form, and I have 2 of them. I didn't get a single leaf from either one in 2021. Actually, no, I'm lying. The 3rd large form I have is the Thai constellation, and it has grown, but it's still kind of tiny, and maybe next year I'll make the list. But for now, there are no Monstera on my year-end favorites, which is sad because I do love them, but they just don't seem to love me back. So moving along, my next category is another category of one plant, and that's just like the general succulents category. So I have a lot of like small plants. I don't think I have many that like I'm deeply in love with, except for one plant. And this plant is representative of kind of 2 different plants, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. So this was a plant that I got, oh God, I thought I heard a mosquito in my ear. This is a plant that I split a large plant of with Charmaine and Jing, and it even like split into 3 plants. It is still pretty big. I think I split it 3 ways at least. So that is my Ripsalis Paradoxa Miner. Just flip her around here. Can you see okay? I don't know if you can see, but this is one plant split into 3, so it's still like a pretty substantial amount, and it's like definitely grown for me. Like you can see like all that new growth here. It's branching off at the top here. If I were to choose between the Paradoxa Miner and the regular Paradoxa, I would definitely choose the regular Paradoxa because it just has like a little bit more thickness and like the angles are a little bit more pronounced. But this is the one I'm showing in the video today because it's my Paradoxa is still like really short. It's still growing out, so maybe my next year will have some length to it and maybe I'll have a bigger pot by then, who knows. But yeah, it's like this is such a fun plant to grow and just to trail off the side of your shelf and like just run your hands through them because they feel like when you're a kid, did your teachers ever give you like those like candy strings or like green apple flavor? This reminds me a lot of how those feel. And it's also really nice when a plant is meant to trail, because we all love to trail plants, right? We all love the way they look, but I don't know about you, but I always feel a little bit guilty when I don't let them trail. No, when I don't give them the opportunity to climb, because I know that's what they want, but not this one. It wants to trail, so guilt-free trailing right here. Ripsalis Paradoxa Miner. And that is it for my favorite plants of 2021. So next I'm gonna go through my favorite plant supplies. So a lot of things aren't gonna make this list because, you know, you can find substitutions elsewhere. So these are mostly going to be nutrition related, and so if you're not interested in that, just like skip to the end, you know, thanks for being here. So without further ado, here are the plant supplies. Okay, the first one I want to talk about, if you come here from my Instagram, which I'm sure most of you are, this will come as no surprise to you. The first thing on my favorites is mycorrhizal inoculant. I think most people know what Myco is at this point. But mycorrhizal inoculant inoculates your soil, your substrate, with strains of beneficial fungi, and they can form a relationship with your roots. And this is like this symbiotic relationship in which your plant benefits from the fungi because the fungi brings them broken down nutrients and more water, makes them hardier, makes them more pest resistant, and then in return the plant will give the fungi sugars and carbohydrates. So like every plant that I've used this with has responded positively. I've never had anything negative happen with Myco, and it's like kind of boosted and jump-started a lot of plants for me. And I just find like the roots are a lot stronger. I'm not finding like root rot happening that much. The one thing I will say is like if you're making cuttings of your plants and it doesn't have roots, like don't bother using this because it needs contact with roots in order to work. But yeah, Myco, you don't have to use this one. I will link it down below, but I don't think that this particular one is available in the States if that's where you're from. The one that we can get in Canada is more, I'll see if I can show you, but it is, I don't know if you can see. Can you see? It's like powdery. And the one from this brand that you can get in the States is kind of like pellet form, and it is a lot cheaper in the States too. So yeah, you don't have to get this brand, but in Canada there are a few that are available, and this is like one of the few that like really seemed good to me. It wasn't like cut with a lot of filler like perlite. So yeah, I do recommend this one. You can see this is about this full out of maybe this much when I first got it, and I've been using this for over a year, and I just like take a pinch of it and sprinkle it over the roots when I'm potting something up, and it's been working amazingly. So this is helping me ensure that I get a lot more bang for my buck for my fertilizers, because it's helping the plant take up those nutrients. So number one plant supply favorite is definitely Myco. And then another one, the one that I've been using the longest out of my fertilizers is definitely this next one. That is liquid gold leaf. So you can't actually get this anymore unless you live in the UK, which is like a big bummer. I think it has to do with Brexit, and I'm hoping they'll be able to figure out how to ship this again, because this is like a really awesome fertilizer. I've never had burn with liquid gold leaf, and like it's quite balanced. I don't have to worry about CalMag as much because it does include CalMag, but even though I still add CalMag after. So I'm just gonna read you the little description. So unlike other NPK fertilizers, liquid gold leaf nutrients are fully soluble and readily available to the plant with no inferior chloride salts that cause scorching and high EC levels. The NPK is 9,516. The one thing, the downside to liquid gold leaf, the number one downside in my opinion, is the smell. So like, it just in the bottle, it has like a musty kind of wet cardboard, like attic kind of smell. Once it's been mixed with your water and it sits for a day or two, it starts to smell super rank, like kind of sulfury and like sewagey. It's really not a nice smell at all, but it will dissipate. But as you're watering your plants, you're gonna smell this and it just smells disgusting. I haven't seen any negative impact on the plants because of the smell. Like, it's not like it's introducing rot or anything to it, but it does smell disgusting. And the other thing to be aware of if you're using liquid gold leaf is that like the sediment really does sink to the bottom. And if you haven't touched the bottle in a long time, it does take quite a bit of shaking to be able to like remix it up. So don't pour without shaking this very, very well. But other than that, this is like a really, really, really nice fertilizer I've been using all throughout this year. Have had nothing but good things. Yeah, liquid gold leaf, awesome. And then the next thing is something I've been using for a long time, but I've fallen off using it for a little bit until recently when I realized that like my plants were nutrient deficient, and that is CalMag. So this is the one that I use. I'm gonna link all these in my description, by the way. Other than like, I'll link liquid gold leaf, but like just bear in mind that you can't get it outside of the UK for now. But anyways, CalMag, what do I wanna say about CalMag? The three main macronutrients that the plants need is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, right? But calcium and magnesium are probably like just below that in terms of importance. And I think we sometimes, well, I definitely did, like underestimated how important it was to the plant. Like without calcium, like if like in a person, right? Without calcium, you don't have the strong bones. The same thing kind of happens with your plants. Like it doesn't have strong cellular structure. It's not able to move nutrients through the plants very well. You'll have kind of stunted looking leaves. You're gonna have stunted growth. You're gonna have leaves that are like not unfurling properly. They rip themselves, things like that. So that did happen to me. And then once I put CalMag back into my watering schedule, then all those things kind of went away. So definitely a must-have in your fertilizer arsenal is CalMag. Like this is the only brand I've ever used, and I've used this for like over a year, and there's still like over half of the bottle left. And this is like, I bought this because it was the smallest bottle that I could find on Amazon. So this is the one I'm using. I have no complaints about it. And this one has calcium, magnesium, and iron. Oh yes, don't be like me. Use CalMag if you're not using it already. Use it as prevention rather than treatment once you already see the deficiencies in your plants. Like start using it before that starts to present, because it's just gonna be much less of a headache for you, unless you just want to be able to see the results of, you know, before and after. Like, I guess if that's fun for you, then go for it. But anyway, yeah, must have. And then the last thing for my fertilizer is one that I haven't been using for that long, maybe for the last few months, but it's been nothing but good so far. It's been really easy to use, and the concept behind it is really what drew me to it. So this came to my attention because a lot of growers that I kind of admire and are growing plants really well and really large are using this. And this is MSU Fertilizer. So this particular one is from Crystal Star Nursery here in Canada. I believe Tezula plants in the States. Just want to make sure my mic is still on. Tezula plants in the States makes MSU Fertilizer as well. So As far as I understand it, it's not a proprietary formula. So MSU stands for Michigan State University, and they created this formula, but it's not proprietary to them. So you'll see different brands making MSU plant feed. But I think the main thing that drew me to this was that the nitrogen in MSU is nitrate form of nitrogen. So that is a more broken down form of nitrogen. Like if you ever had a fish tank and you had to do the nitrogen cycle, like when the fish produces waste, then it starts out as ammonia, and then you need the bacteria to break down the ammonia into like the simpler compounds. Like so it goes from ammonia to nitrite, then to nitrate, and then that's usable by plants. So it's like two forms more simplified, I guess, is how I understand it. So it's more, the nitrogen is more easy to take up by the plants, and you need nitrogen, obviously. Like nitrogen is a really important part of like the green growth of plants because it's part of the chlorophyll production. Obviously chlorophyll means your plant's able to photosynthesize, more energy for the plant. So that's the main reason that I got this, is for the nitrates, to make sure that I don't have nitrogen deficiency in my plants. So what I do is I mix about half of the recommended strength of the bottle into my big watering sprayer, my 2-gallon sprayer, and I water my plants with this water only. Like I don't water with regular water unless like I just need to like hydrate it in a pinch and I don't have time to mix it. But as much as possible, oops, let me flip you around. As much as possible, I will just use nutrient water to water my plants. So they're getting a really, really small amount of feed every single time. I guess my last favorite would be the like 2-gallon. You know what? I'm just gonna go get it. 1 second. Oh, I'm back. So my last favorite is this guy. This is my 2-gallon sprayer, which I use in my plant room. So as I was saying earlier, this, and this all get mixed in to here with 2 gallons of water. And this I keep in my plant room. So my plant room, there is no sink in there. I don't have like just quick access to water. And so this is what I fill up once every 2 weeks or so. And I water with that. This allows me to spray the foliage down, spray the moss poles as well, so that the moss poles have nutrients in them. The nozzle kind of looks like this, and then you spray like this. The only thing about this one that I wish, the feature that I wish that I had was the ability to have the continuous spray, so I'm not like always holding it down. Like if I'm spraying a larger pot with this, it gets pretty tiring. Like I get like cramps in my hands, but it's not the end of the world. So this is from Home Depot, as you can see. I just like, you can get it at any hardware store. Usually it's for like spraying, like, I don't know what it's actually for, pesticides maybe? I don't know. But yeah, you just pump it, and it does pump better when it's full versus when it's kind of empty. So it starts to spray really slow when the sprayer starts to deplete. But anyway, so those are my favorites. Could not live without in 2021, plant supplies. And then I have one honorable mention. One thing that I started using this year that I've been really enjoying, and that is Orchiata. So I didn't really know how to show this to you, so I just like took a cup of it. But I don't know if you can see it. This is the fine grade one, so it does come in like larger chunks as well. But I bought fine grade specifically to use in to mix in with Lechuzapon. So you can look at Orchiata and like all the benefits of it, but one thing that I really like about it is it's got a really good like kind of nutrient retention, so it's able to like hold on to nutrients and like release it back into the substrate as needed. And the other thing is like the size of it was really good because it's compatible with pon, since pon can be a little bit too fine for certain plants. So mixing in like either leca or coarse perlite and this, has been really, really nice for my plants. So we can see my gloriosum behind me is in this mix and it's just loving it. So let me see, can you see? So this is a mix of Lechuzapon, oh my goodness, it's so dark. So Lechuzapon and Orchiata and of course Perlite. I'm really not sure if you can see it actually, but you get the idea. But it just loves it. So Orchiata also, if you have trouble with pond being too drying and you have to water it too much, Orchiata is obviously like more water retentive than a lot of the mineral, or are they minerals? Yeah, the rocks that are in ponds. So that also helps to retain water a little bit longer if you're feeling like you have to water them every day. This is also like something that Hoyas really like. And speaking of Hoyas, I don't have any Hoyas on this list right now. Like I was going through all my cabinets and greenhouses and I'm like, should I pick a Hoya? And I realized that like I don't have a lot of Hoyas, or like a couple of standout Hoyas. I really, really like Hoyas, and Hoyas are something that I got into this year for sure, but I'm finding that like I kind of love them all the same. So if you actually are interested in Hoya and you want me to do, I could do a separate video on my Hoya collection and like what I'm doing with Hoya, even though I don't know anything about Hoya. But if you're interested, just let me know. And also for Monstera and things like that, like I also don't have any like Homalamina or Raffies on this list. What else? No Syngoniums. I actually don't like Syngoniums. But like other genera of plants I don't have on this list, but we'll probably make monthly favorites in the future because I actually really like favorites videos. And I'm just rambling. I'm just saying things that are coming. I'm not even thinking, words are coming out of my mouth. So I think it's time to end this here. I'm just gonna go grab Huxley and we're gonna come back and say goodbye. It is now the next day and I'm back with Huxley and he's decided he wants to perch precariously on my legs. You okay there, bud? Is that how you want to sit? I just wanted to hop on here with Hux and say thank you so much for watching our first video. And thank you for being here. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Hopefully it wasn't too awful of a video and I will hopefully get better from here. If there's any kind of video you want me to film in the future, please let me know. I would love to hear it. I have some planned already, including a plant tour. And yeah, I hope you have an awesome day. I hope you have a wonderful New Year's and I will see you in the next one. Bye.